So last year I did a video on the previous year and the different units that I purchased from Arcade1up. And in this video, I'm going to go over what I picked up in the 2023 year and basically which device I was really most impressed with from Arcade1up. So we're going to do a bit of a tour of the arcade and go over the different purchases I made last year and added to my home arcade and discuss the ones that I like best. Let's take a look. So one of the first new units that I purchased last year was the NBA Jam Party Cade. Now I did a pretty in-depth review on it if you want to scroll through the channel and find that. I purchased this for a pretty good price, about $200 cash. I ended up putting it on my wall here beside my Street Fighter 2 cabinet, and it's okay. Throughout the year, I've gotten a bit more excited about playing it, and I go through waves of really enjoying playing it. But as it stands, the lack of online play, the lack of ability to have a second player, it's something that's become more of a novelty than a staple of my home arcade here, which is a little unfortunate. But I am half looking at potentially adding a PCB from the full-size NBA Jam to kind of increase the replayability of this unit. Now, the next machine that I ended up getting last year was the Super PacMan Party Cade. And I will say, from this generation of Party Cades, between the Miss Pac-Man and the Street Fighter 2 line that came out at the same time, this is a very well-built Party Cade. I do find myself coming back to it quite a bit. I prefer the quality of the screen over even my my Pac-Mania full-size unit. I think overall this is a great Party Cade, and as far as the controls feel, the light-up marquee, the artwork, it's very well built. And I also got it for a fantastic price on TSC. I believe it was around $150. I have a video on it showing exactly what I spent, but it was a really good deal. But it's also really well built, and in my opinion worth almost double that if you're looking at a Party Cade. Now, one of the last things I got, and I won't say I purchased this, my wife purchased this for me for Christmas, was the Ninja Turtles Countercade. And this little countercade here, I have a couple positive things to say about it. There's some things that I really wish Arcade1up would have done. Of course, Wi-Fi being one of them. And of course, the ability to add a second player would have been another awesome option for this device. I do like the games on it. I do actually like how it feels for the most part. So I do find myself coming back and playing it still. And that's also partially because it's one of the newest devices I've added to the arcade here. But it is a good device. I do appreciate it for what it is, and I do have a lot of fun playing it, and my kids definitely do as well. Now, this is more of an honorable mention. I talked about this in one of the earlier videos this year, but my Street Fighter 2 machine broke down, so I converted it into a dedicated House of the Dead cabinet. It's just running a Wii, and this has actually become a bit of a hit whenever anybody comes over. People love hopping on this and playing House of the Dead 2 and 3, and I myself am a huge House of the Dead 2 fan. Now, of course, I know this looks a little DIY, which it definitely is. This was almost a no-budget House of the Dead conversion, just made out of extra stuff I had laying aside, paint that I had laying aside, and even magazine cutouts that I used to build the marquee here. So I didn't really have a tremendous year like I did last year with adding a bunch of new full-size cabinets to my home arcade, but I did end up adding a bunch of Party Cades and converting one, and I'm quite happy with how my home arcade looks at this point. I know right now 1UP's feeling a little stagnant, so I'm hoping that there's going to be some big announcements later this year and some devices that are going to really catch my eye that I want to jump for when they end up hitting the market this year. But as it stands right now, I'm pretty satisfied with my setup. I am, of course, always looking out for some deals on some of the units that I've talked about in the past, like the Terminator 2 and Killer Instincts. And potentially, if I find those for a good price, I may add those to this collection in 2024.